Welcome back to our series, Intro to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If you haven't already, go watch our What is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu video. Maybe it's right below this one. Of course you have the right to say, I already know what Jiu-Jitsu is, you go to hell! To which I would say, that's aggressive, but okay. But here you are, wanting to learn what to expect in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class. It might be your first one ever, or it might be your first one at our school. Either way, disclaimer time. Oh my God. The typical class that I'm describing is the way that I run a class at the Upper West Side Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This may not be how it is at your gym or academy or dojo. I'm not saying that our way is better and that any other school is doing it wrong. This is just one way to skin this cat. So first, I want to break down a jiu-jitsu concept that is not well known, and it is categorizing the different skills that are required to succeed at jiu-jitsu. I like to see it as 4 levels.
Levels. Levels. These different levels.
Each one building on the last. The first level is basic movements. These movements might be jiu-jitsu specific, like a shrimp, or they might be more generic, like a somersault or a bridge. You don't have to be able to do all of them right away. But if you aren't able to do a specific movement, then the technique that requires those movements might not be available to you right at the beginning. An example of this might be inverting. Turning upside down onto your shoulders is not a natural movement for most people, and that's fine. Most of the techniques that you're going to learn at the beginning will not include movements that require extraordinary flexibility or strength or dexterity. A technique is something unique to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or other grappling arts, and most importantly, serves an end goal. This includes passes, entries, transitions, sweeps, escapes, and submissions. The next 2 levels, above movements and techniques, are both more mental than they are physical. Cute. Above techniques are tactics. Tactics are the when and the how to do a technique. They're sometimes prerequisites for a technique to work. Sometimes a technique follows really well off of either a defended or a failed other technique. Tactics are knowing and then performing your techniques at the right time and place. Finally is strategy, the big picture stuff. What is your overall plan? How do you play your strengths into your opponent's weaknesses? Do they have attribute advantages such as strength or speed or flexibility that need to be accounted for? All of this would be bundled up into your general strategy of jiu-jitsu, and then it would get more specific based on the person directly in front of you. Why did I prime you guys with these 4 levels? Because in my humble opinion, yes, fine. In my opinion, a good class hits all 4 of these levels. So try to keep them all in mind as we break down a class. Okay. I'm little now. So the beginning of the class is the warm-up. This will vary a lot based on your class and instructor. Some instructors have an extensive and brutal warm-up. Others have none at all. I'm in the middle. I don't believe the warm-up should be your sole strength and conditioning workout. It'll be too easy for some, too hard for others. I find a hard warm-up to be inaccurate and a bit distracting. Yeah, I know. I believe the warm-up should mostly be jiu-jitsu movements. Your body needs to learn these movements anyway, so we might as well use them to heat ourselves up a little bit before class. In our school, we now do some basic techniques that we do every class. These techniques are ones you would use in rolling but are a bit simplified. You can almost think of them halfway between a movement and a fully formed technique. This is your first physical contact in class, but it's also meant to get you into the right headspace for jiu-jitsu. There he is again. Hold on. We're now doing our first drills with another person. Time to discuss how to drill. An analogy that I often use with the kids is drawing. If I give you a blank piece of paper and a pencil, you can draw anything you want, with the only limitations being the paper and the pencil themselves. That blank sheet is like rolling or sparring. Within the rules, you can be as creative as you like. Drilling, however, is like a coloring book. Sure, you could just draw all over the coloring book like this dumb kid right here. But no, try to draw within the lines like this little psychopath clearly did. Try to follow the steps as closely as you can, and if you're with a senior who has pointers, try to apply them. After a few reps, you might get bored. Don't start coloring outside of the lines. Don't start adding variations and making up new things. There will be plenty of opportunity for that later. If you're the uke, the person having the technique done to them, just be a good partner for them. It's their turn. Don't add resistance or make up defenses or responses for them. Just be present and helpful. It'll be your turn next. When a drill starts to get boring, it's starting to become muscle memory. The reps you do right now are the most important. They're the ones that are really going to lock it in. Now comes the part of class that is the most common throughout the entire jiu-jitsu world, lead drilling. This is where the instructor will demonstrate a technique to the entire class. I personally like to give a short explanation. An explanation for the framework around a technique, where we use the technique, but also what can we learn about jiu-jitsu in general from this technique. I'll explain technique teaching concepts in another video. I really don't like that. So the lead drilling might be more complicated than the drills earlier in class. Sometimes these techniques might be built off of things that were done earlier in the week or the month. And if you weren't present for those other techniques or you don't remember them, sometimes it can be a challenge. It is at this point in the lead drilling portion of class that tactics start coming into play. You can start to notice what are the prerequisites for the technique that you're doing. What position do you need to start in? What details need to be just right? You may notice with your partner, if they are bigger or smaller than you, that comes into play. Many people consider the lead drilling part of class to be one of the most integral parts of your training. Some people think that drilling is in fact a little overvalued. I leave that decision to your instructor. At this point in class, you've been training for like 20, 25 minutes, and it's very easy to get distracted or thirsty or want to take a break. No, stay focused. Do not wander off the floor away from your partner because you're tempted by something else. No, stay focused. So now we come to what is typically the final third of class. And in our school, that would be rolling or sparring. Rolling deserves its own video because it will arguably be where you learn jiu-jitsu the most. There are multiple styles of it with more limitations on what you're allowed to do. There's also some responsibility and understanding needed for how to roll. You have training partners of different experience levels, different sizes, different ages. You need to be able to roll with everyone in a way that's mutually beneficial. So after rolling, there's now some variety. Some schools will have a cool down routine. Some schools will have a question and answer period. Some schools like ours, the instructor will give a short commentary. I can't believe I walked into that for a third time. I recommend that if your schedule allows it, that you don't run off the mats and run home the moment class is over. Even if you didn't get to train with everybody in the room, you still shared the floor with them and went through a very similar experience. By the way, you know the short commentary I said might be at the end of class? Just did one. Welcome to Jiu-Jitsu, or our school in particular. Hopefully you enjoyed this description of a general Jiu-Jitsu class. We'll see you soon.